Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Xer.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. I have some great videos. I have a hell of an interview on Medicare Advantage. I'm going to wait till we get more people in before I play it. Medicare Advantage almost killed this guy. I really want folks to see it. Most importantly, I want folks to share. I'm going to go ahead and separate it out. I want folks to share this video as wide as possible. Medicare Advantage is there to kill. Medicare Advantage is there to kill. And I don't say that lightly at all. Anyway, folk, Bruce is correct. Medicare Disadvantage is what it's called. Anyway, welcome aboard, Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas. Welcome aboard, Yvette Avery Herod, our union expert from Atlanta, Georgia. Good morning. or good afternoon, Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. We have Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. We have AVQ, El Senor Rodnin from Brooklyn, New York. John Feist, my little brother. I'm going to keep calling him my little brother. He's just a couple of months younger than me. Don't think you're all that young, my brother. El Stud, Dr. John J. Tice, where I learn a whole lot of politics and government from. And of course, there's E2247. E2247, keep up the great work. Make forcing us to keep the genocide on the screen. Sometimes I don't get a chance to read all your stuff. I get it. But people like you stop us from forgetting the pain that's been inflicted by a lot of what we have done onto others. So thank you, E2247. I know sometimes you disagree with some of the positions I take or the compromises that I feel I've got to make, but in where I sit, it is necessary that I do it. Where you sit, it is necessary that you do what you're doing, my brother. Day 391 of war equal 43,204 Gazans killed, 1,379 persons more than day 365, at least 101,641 wounded, 4,721 persons more than day killed, and 79. Oops, my eye crossed. 144,845 casualties. Look, you're absolutely right, my brother. You're absolutely right. It is a genocide. All right, let's continue here. Paul Fleming says hedge fund billionaire and GOP mega donor John Paulson made a fortune, shortened the housing market during the 2008 subprime crisis. It wasn't only him who made a fortune. The guy who diagnosed that problem made a fortune. Now he wants to run the treasury in a second Trump administration and help Elon Musk sabotage public investment. Trump is an oligarchy, not you. Folks, what folks don't understand is we are looking at a complete transformation of the economy because, look, my contention is if Trump wins, it also means we lose the Senate and we likely lose the House. I don't think Trump wins without taking the whole shebang. And if the whole shebang goes, we have a new economic system. We have a new political system. Folks don't get it. Watch the Supreme Court in some of the things that it's doing right now. It's wake up, folks. Wake up. Wake up. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. After Trump threatened him with life in prison, Mark Zuckerberg has cozied up to him and reportedly allowed militia groups to organize on Facebook. Reminder that when billionaire control platforms communications, it's not a win for free speech. It's a win for oligarchy. Look, you know what is so funny? I wrote an article at Daily Kos, and I think I posted it as one of my newsletter, where I said that we have to reestablish our old ways of doing activism. Meaning not only emails is one, but emails can still be thwarted as well. The DNS can be modified. But we have to remember to put point persons in every precinct. We have to remember the use of ham radios and all of that. Look, if Trump were to win, I don't think it's possible. Well, it's possible. I don't think it's probable. I actually think we're going to win, and I actually think we're going to win bigger than people think. I think women are going to save us. I think women are going to save the day. And specifically, I think Republican women are going to be the swing vote. Republican white women, I think, are going to be the swing vote. All right, let's continue here. Let's continue here. Paul Fleming says Vice President Harris on Thursday criticized former president, said he would protect women whether they like it or not. And it sounds so much like the bus video that he did when he says he grabbed on women without their permission, right? That's who they are. And since you brought that up, if you want to understand the world, according to Trump and the macho men, the alpha bros that they're preparing. If you take a look at all their thing, it's all about macho, macho, macho. They think they can exceed women because they think women want to maintain enough women want to maintain the patriarchy, so that they just need to activate the bros and it'll be okay. And if you doubt it, let's remember somebody special, somebody named Tucker Carlson.
12 days out from the election, and what is the message Donald Trump wants voters to take away from his campaign? We got a hint of it last night at Trump's rally in Georgia, where a fired Fox News host who now does stuff on his Twitter account described Trump as the father of the country, and he called on the crowd to vote for Trump because Tucker Carlson hates bad little girls.
There has to be a point at which dad comes home. Yeah, that's right. Dad comes home. And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children, they live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's gonna have to let them know. He's gonna have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not gonna lie. This is gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl.
Okay, first of all, get some.
You know, that is how they think. And if you doubt it, let's look at Mike Cisak in the chat. I said, I think women are going to save the democracy because there are too many alpha guys out there. And I'm not talking about the majority, but I'm talking about enough alpha guys that make up the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and independents that look at that stuff about wanting to be machismo. You know, they can't do it on their own. Women are kicking their asses. So they think they can get back at women by voting for whom again? Donald Trump, right? And look at the answer we get from Mike Cisak. Egberto, you are relying on women too much. No, I trust women. No, I respect women. That's what it is. I'm not relying on women too much. I believe in women. To tell you the truth, I believe in women much more than those damn alpha males who likely have a problem with who they are because they can't even, well, we won't go there. Michael Radden says, Egberto, what should the Democratic Party tell men? Democrats have better policies, including for men, but that's not getting across. If the election was decided by men alone, Republicans would win in most states. Exactly. But you know what, Michael? What happens is we've had a patriarchy for so long that men believe in their omnipotence. They believe, and this doesn't, you know, a lot of people, when they think about the patriarchy, they think about mostly white men, right? But that's not the case. Go to an old black church. I'm not talking about a black church like the one my wife goes to, which is very progressive and women pastors and all that kind of stuff. Go to the old black church. Go to the old Latino-based type church. And you see the same evil of the patriarchy in these areas where they denigrate women or put women as second-class status. Just like the implication that Mike Cisak just gave you right there with that response, right? When whoever realizes that women are their equal, women vote at 53% to 47% for men. And in so far the early vote, women are clocking it. And if these women are voting the way I think they're voting, the election is not going to be this close election that everybody thinks that it is. And like I said, I think So far, for the last several elections, white women have been 50% or more supporting the patriarchy. Black women have not. 90-something% of them have not. And I think our white sisters are coming home. I think our white sisters are going to come into their own, and they're going to be the ones this time around to save our democracy. They will be saving our democracy. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, one other video. There's a video that I did this morning on the economy, and let's go ahead and play that. And I want to play this one because I think people need to hear this, and then we'll take it on the other side. This is about our economy. Before we go to Neil's topics, I want to talk a little bit about the economy. I think there has been a problem with Democrats and the economy for a very long time. I'm going to give you some interesting facts here. During the Obamacare debate, I watched the fights on TV. I watched the misrepresentations that the right was making on TV about Obamacare, about our healthcare system, about our economy, about communism, socialism, and the whole works. I watched it and I got so upset. I am a businessman. I had a software company and I'm watching this debate. I had to pay my health insurance for the whole family because as a sole proprietor, you don't get the benefits of that businesses, corporations get with healthcare. You don't get the benefits of only paying half of Social Security. So as a small business, I paid my entire Social Security bill, 15-point-something%, 14-point-something%. 12-point-something%. I paid my entire Medicare taxes, 3-point-something%. I had to pay the full bill. There were times when my medical bill was over near $20,000 when deductibles and the premiums were included, etc. Having a wife with lupus and a daughter with a few issues as well. Well, then she didn't have those issues, but it was costing north of $20,000 for a year for insurance and all of that as a sole proprietor. So I understood as a small businessman how things really work deep on the inside. The benefits corporations got and all of that. So when we started talking about a universal healthcare system that's affordable, that you cannot be denied, I said my wife has lupus, so that created pre-existing conditions and a lot of issues. I said, great, we're going to finally have healthcare that other countries have that makes it available for everybody. And I watched the debate and I watched how it was horrendously marketed by Democrats. Because how could you allow the right to turn something good, something magnanimous, something that helped people into something that was bad? But they are so good at it, they were able to do it. So you know what I did? I've always been an activist, but I even got deeper into activism. But as a businessman, as somebody who sold software to just about everybody, government and private sector, I developed software for both of them. I couldn't really be a face. So I started to blog as an anonymous kind of a person. And finally, there are a lot of things that happened. But I said, you know what? I'm going to write a damn book about this stuff. And wrote a book called As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Why did I do that? Because I felt the news media were screwing you because they weren't telling you the truth about healthcare. Not only was the news media screwing you, the politicians on both sides were screwing you. We had the Republicans trying to tell you that somehow getting a good healthcare was socialism. And you had some blue dog Democrats on the other side trying to say we want to have good universal healthcare, but somehow the private sector could do a good job by taking your money from you. That's how we got things like Medicare Advantage and all that crap. So I wrote the book, and in the process, I had to learn a whole lot about the different presidents and their economic systems, etc., what they did, etc. And what I found out was
how horrendous Reaganism really was and what it did to the budget and what it did for the semblance of prosperity. You take a look at what Reagan did, 16 million jobs created, what Clinton did, 21 million jobs created, what Carter did, 10 million jobs created in one administration, but that's a different story. But it always turned out this way, folks. Republicans with supply side economics come in, screw the economy up. The Democrats come in with Keynesian economics, fix the economy. But in the process of fixing the economy, people have to go through certain pains before the economy gets fixed. Then Republicans come back in based on the previous economy and say, look at what they did, even though what they did was fix the economy. So it turns out to be that constantly Democrats come in after a shattered economy, fix it, but pay the price for what it took to fix the economy. Biden came in and made a little thing a bit different. He didn't do an Obama. Obama did a slight, how should I say? Obama didn't go bat Keynesian crazy, but Biden went bat Keynesian crazy. And when Biden went bat Keynesian crazy, and look up the word Keynesian economics, what he did was he prevented for the first time a recession to occur to blow the inflation created by the corporate sector. It was magic. It proved that Keynesian economics work. And in the process, the best economy on the Western side in the world is the United States economy right now. And finally, the Wall Street Journal comes out today and says, whoever wins the election have inherited the best economy. Now, look, there are some caveats here. It is still capitalism, and it still means that the economy is not distributed correctly to those who actually earn. But the economy in the aggregate is the best economy in the Western world, bar none. Bar none. And we did it by forcing inflation down because the corporate sector was scared into it down, as well as some fiscal policies. And not only did we do that, but it was done without a recession that every economist said would have occurred. But no, Biden went full Keynesians, brother. Spend like a dog. Not like a dog. Dogs don't spend, but spend. But he did it. He did it with AOC and all these guys pushing him in the back, saying, hey, guy, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. And even though he's a bit more moderate, it's like, okay, we got to do it. We got to do it. He did it. Folks, you are listening to a Donald Trump and his people talk about how bad the economy is, and the mainstream media is taking that and running with it and making it seem like it's true. You keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again, and people believe it. Look at the numbers. We have never, ever seen in this country, not even since the Depression, a recovery that occurred after what Trump left in 2020. Yeah, Biden shouldn't have run again because Biden is in fact too old. But if Biden was a younger person, Biden should have won that election would have won with flying colors, saying, I built back an economy. I did it with Keynesian economics. I did it by rebuilding American infrastructure. I did it by making sure all these things came back. I am not a lover of Biden, but Biden has been the best progressive to progressives ever. No other president claiming to be progressive have been more progressive than Biden. And he saved conservatives. He saved progressives. He saved everybody by going out and pushing these policies. That is a statement of fact that can be corroborated, verified. It's in the numbers. And those of you that are going out voting, and I can't tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you what will happen if you vote a particular way. Anybody who votes for increasing tariffs across the board as is suggested. It's voting to destroy all that was fixed. Anybody voting to further cut taxes for the undeserving is voting to blow the economy again. Anybody voting to support these things, you are voting to shoot yourself in the foot. Now, a lot of people know this intrinsically, and a lot of people know this. But you know what? There are some other forces that Wilkerson has spoken about that I can't go into because we don't have the time. We're in fund drive right now. But I'll probably play that on Friday when Brother Aquino isn't here, because we must give Aquino his time. But brothers and sisters, vote wisely. Don't vote on stupidity. Vote wisely. Vote wisely. The foundation has been laid. The Wall Street Journal themselves, which I don't particularly like, but they've said whoever inherits the economy, this economy is inheriting a strong economy. You can either keep it going forward or you can blow it. And that's in your hands. The voters, that's in the hands of the voters right now.
Absolutely in the hand of the voters. Hey, Tom C., that crazy sheriff from that CSEC is talking about in Michigan. Everybody know who he is. The Reuters did a piece on him. It's a joke. It's the same crap that they do over and over again about a stolen election. I mean, these guys won't back down. The polls, the polls before the election said that they lost. Everything, the numbers say that they lost, but they just can't believe that people don't like them. They just can't believe that. They can't believe that the only reason they ever won was because the electoral college is not a democracy. But anyhow, you know how that goes. So don't worry about that kind of stuff, brother Tom C. It is just a joke that these guys, they get shot down over and over again. My problem is with all these right-wing judges coming in, whether some of them are going to try to give it some legs to slow down an election and make things difficult so that in the long run they can go into the Congress and say, okay, we'll select the election based on all the wrong issues. So anyhow, folks, I got some more videos, but I think Melissa is about to call. She called on the other line. So Melissa, if you are out there, give us a call now before I go to the next video, because it seems like you wanted to call. Let's see. But look, let's see. Michael says, Tom C., there has never been an election in modern American history that had its outcome affected by fraud. There are only a few isolated cases of voter fraud being magnified by social media. And guess what? Most of the voter fraud that you find, including the one that was just reported, was actually by whom? Republicans. Like I said, these guys do a lot of projecting. And when they project, that is what happens. That is what happens. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. Bruce says, in my precinct, there were a bunch of unopposed Republicans. And, you should never have unopposed anybody. You should always have a name in there. It's my opinion, at least. Let's see what else we got here before I go to the video. Paul Fleming says, Lucid Motors. Lucid Air is making waves with its innovative electric powertrain that challenges traditional high-performance vehicles. The Lucid Air Dream Edition, delivering 1,111 horsepower and an EPA range of 520 miles, sets a new standard for power and range in the EV market. This groundbreaking vehicle features a 118 kilowatt-hour battery with a rapid charging rate of 297 kilowatts, recharging up to 20% in just 3 minutes. Wow, that is great. That is almost the amount of time it takes to put a few gallons in your car. So, I mean, that is actually pretty good. I got to look that up. Hey, Lee, do you have a link to that, the link that you're reading? Miss Melissa Bowie, how are you doing, my dear friend?
I am well. How are you, sir?
I am
How are you,
doing,
Houston?
we are
How
doing
are
fine,
you?
especially since we're hearing you.
Yes, I am at distraught means today. I don't understand what's happening on this freaky day. It's not Friday, but it's a freaky day. Definitely freaky.
Yeah, it's
Did
Freaky
you
Day. It's
see?
Halloween, right?
Yes. Did you see what's happening with Houston HISD?
No, what happened?
Yates principal got locked up for something. What my understanding is, I'm sorry if I switch the tone. I'm sorry, but I've been trying to research this thing. Yates principal got locked up for a scheme, allegedly, of teachers, unqualified teachers teaching in
Oh, I saw
HISD.
that. Yeah, let me
To my,
explain. Yeah, yeah.
okay,
What happened?
explain
It
for
was a
me, please.
skit. Yeah, here's what happened. He along the principal along was selling. I don't remember how much. I think it was for $2,500. They were allowing teachers to get certified by getting other people to take the exams for the teachers. And it's not only at Yates; it's all over the state. Okay, I didn't realize that they finally locked him up, but it's what they were doing was shameful, right? They were actually getting certifications for teachers without having to take the test themselves. But Melissa, let me tell you what's interesting. You know who Mike Miles is, right?
Yes,
He's the
yes,
superintendent for
yes,
HISD. Well, Mike Miles
yes.
is filling up HISD with
With
uncertified
these teachers.
teachers. So I find it
Exactly. So why is the
ironic
principal? Thank you.
that the principal used some capitalism to provide teachers that don't need certification to teach at Houston
This
Independent. Look,
what
I'm not justifying it. I'm not
what
justifying it at all.
bruh,
Okay, I am not
bruh.
justifying
What
it.
I'm trying to find out is why they coming for third war? Why they coming for third war if they brought in if they brought in this higher elite person to get HISD under control, right? Why they
And he
locking up
himself, and he
HISD
himself is
people?
uncertified. Wait a minute.
Thank
Mike
you.
Miles
Could you
does
please
not have a
clarify that for
teaching
me?
certification. Okay, he does not have a teacher
OMG,
certification.
bro.
So I mean, let me
What
tell you again. It's
when I seen oh my god.
yeah.
When I see people go off on black teachers who are trying to fill up the void of the mass exodus of massive teachers who had degrees who are not being paid well, and then they're gonna come for the people who trying to replace the teachers that had a mass expedition. I don't get this. We're just trying to, right? We're just trying to fill the void. So there's people who are being judged for trying to get their certification in the midst of not being certified, right?
Yes.
All because
Yes.
we're trying to fill the void. Why are you coming for people? You know what? Goodbye. Thank
Let
you,
me tell.
sir.
Wait.
Thank you.
Hold on. Let me just say this before you leave. Before you leave. Before you leave. That is why, first of all, people have to vote. Secondly, make sure to vote down the bond issues A and B down in the bottom of your ballot for HISD. Do not give them the $4 billion they're asking for. Say no to both of them. I think it's 1.5 billion and 2.5. I don't, whatever it is. Say no to the bond for HISD. That is imperative that you do that. And look, I'm not justifying that the guy is charging money for the certificates, but what I'm saying is it seems it is very hypocritical that you bring in an uncertified superintendent to
Thank
take
you.
over a school district, and at the same time you're
Thank you.
hiring uncertified teachers, and you lock a principal up for doing this. I hear that. Anyway, let's talk another time. I got a long
Thank
video to
you.
play.
All
Okay,
right.
take care, my
Thank you.
sister.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
Bye bye.
All right, folks, this is a video that I need to play you guys right now. This one is very important. Make sure I'll have it ready to ship later on tonight. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let me cue it up correctly. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm your host. Today we are honored to have Judah Freed. Judah Freed is a journalist, author, storyteller, and an activist. He's the author of the book Making Global Sense: Grounded Hope for Democracy and the Earth. Let me tell you something, folks. Today, what we want to talk about is not Judah's book. We will talk about that. That's an important piece of his life and what he's speaking about. But today we need to speak about something that is existential. Today we need to speak about something that affects us all. Today we need to speak about an aberration that needs to be fixed. Welcome to Politics Done Right. Judah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing grateful. I'm glad to be here.
Well, look, Judah, one of the reasons I wanted to speak to you is, I send out my newsletter 1 to 3 times every day. And you responded to one of my newsletter relative to Medicare and Medicare Advantage. And as soon as I saw your story, I said, I really hope this guy will tell his story to the rest of America, because stories are the way we get to make change or changes, because people don't get it when they hear it in the abstract. But when they look at you and they say, you could be me, then we start to get change. So first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a Denver native. I grew up in Colorado, and back in the days of the Marlboro Man and all that Western individualism stuff. And entered journalism in 1976. Spent a decade covering Colorado, then 2 decades covering the media industry for the top trade magazines in the USA and Europe. And then when the market fell out of that in the 2009 crash, I fell in love with a beautiful, wonderful New Yorker who lived on Kauai. And she said, I love you, and why would I leave paradise? So I got rid of most of my stuff and moved to Kauai, and lived in Hawaii for a decade. And then went back to Denver in 2010 when the marriage ended, and we're still best friends. The part that matters is that at the end of 2015, early 2016, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And this was what they call clear cell renal cancer, which basically by the time they caught it, the cancer had consumed my left kidney. And when they took it out in February, it swollen to about the size of a football.
Wow.
Yeah, or a cantaloupe, I guess. Cantaloupe, small football.
Right.
But anyway, it was huge. And so I was given at that point about 3 months to live, and the surgery, helped, gave me a new lease on life, but it didn't get rid of the cancer. And so at that point, there was also like a thumb of the cancer started growing up the central vein to my heart, and that started regrowing as what they call a tumor thrombus, or a blood clot filled with cancer cells. And that started climbing by the autumn. That started climbing up into my heart. So I did a second surgery, and the first one was at Queens Hospital in Honolulu. The second one was at USC Keck in Los Angeles. And
let me stop you for a second here. At this time, how old were you?
Oh, I was 65. And the part that's relevant here is that I had been one of these guys who had been so healthy that I went to a doctor once a year, whether I needed to or not. It was like washing your hair on Saturday night. And so I got diagnosed. I started having this pain in my side and got diagnosed. And the Medicare Advantage plan that I had wasn't paying the bills.
So wait, let me get this right. So you were at 65 when your cancer was diagnosed, but it was diagnosed while you had not traditional Medicare. You had chosen Medicare Advantage.
Right, because I was so healthy. Who needs all this expensive stuff, I figured. And the Medicare Advantage plan looked like, it gave me like the silver sneakers. I could go to the gym. Right. Gave me all these wonderful side benefits. But when I started having pain in my side and started going through testing, it wasn't covering the tests. And I would call them, and they would make up stories. And, so by the time I finally got diagnosed, there was already about, close to $3,000. Well, more than that, close to about $5,000 in medical bills that hadn't yet been paid by the Medicare Advantage plan. And So when I was diagnosed, I had 3 days because when you sign up for Medicare, when you turn 65, there's a timeline before you can sign up for full Medicare. So I had 3 days to get accepted by Medicare and transfer all of those bills to plain Medicare. And then I also got a Medicare supplement plan because Medicare only pays 80%.
Right.
So I need a supplement plan to pick up the other 20%.
So let me see if I understand this right, because this is important. When you were about to switch, when you realized that your Medicare Advantage was pretty much a fraud, and you were going back,
well, at least ineffective, yeah. To be polite, it was not doing its job.
I understand that. I know you're a straight line journalist. I am not. I speak things the way they are. I think, believe it or not, I think that is one of the problems in our why things we get away with, because we're polite with these criminals. We are polite with them, but your life to me is worth much more than the politeness.
Okay, so let me say it a little more bluntly. If I had stayed with the Medicare Advantage plan, I'd be dead.
There you go. That's my point.
And that's because they were disallowing my charges, and if they're already doing this on the diagnostics, I can just imagine what they would have done on the treatment. And so since I switched to the Medicare, this was I switched like in late December, early January in 2016. Since then, I've had 4 hospitalizations, 2 major surgeries, went through interleukin-2 treatment, which was ghastly. Fortunately, it's been outpaced by recent developments, but I did immunotherapy repeatedly with remission for about 2 years in between them. And finally, the immunotherapy stopped working because I guess my body just got so used to it. It wasn't, the cancer was starting to hide again. So it started regrowing in 2022. And so they discovered this past year, this summer, that the immunotherapy wasn't working. So now I'm on a cancer pill, a targeted therapy that's designed to basically kill off the blood vessels feeding the cancer.
The cancer, right.
And, that's been an adventure in and of itself. But all of this, I figure I probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million to $1.5 million worth of medical bills.
Now, interestingly, because you were able to switch to Medicare from Medicare Advantage, but not only that, I think if I understand what you're saying correctly, you were still within the 6-month window where they had
by 3 days.
By 3 days. This has to be explained to our audience. His cancer, Judah's cancer, was found at a perfect time because I hate to put it that way. Forgive me.
The timing couldn't have been any better. Yes.
Right. For being a bit insensitive. But I really want our audience to understand what's going on here. If Judah's cancer had been found 3 days later and he didn't make that switch within that 6 months after becoming 65 years old, he would not have been able to switch from Medicare Advantage to traditional Medicare. He could switch to Medicare, but he would not have been able to afford the supplemental Medigap program, or they may have denied it altogether. Yeah,
there's like in that 3 days, I contacted Medicare and got accepted, and then they took over the bills.
Right.
And then I searched out the best supplemental plan that I could find. Fortunately, my wife was on the AARP plan F, and that covers everything that Medicare doesn't. If Medicare will cover the 90, they'll cover the other 20, no matter what. And so as a consequence of that, I was able to get the bills that have been accumulated that were unpaid. Those were picked up by Medicare and the supplemental plan. And then the bills I accrued going forward were picked up by Medicare and supplemental plan. But, what was so scary is that although I could have, if I hadn't been in that 3-day window, I had to wait a full year before I could apply for Medicare because there's an annual window.
Right.
And I would have been dead by then.
But the other thing that I think, and I don't know if you know this, Judah, or not, but I think it's important for folks to understand. After that 6-month period, that grace period that you have to go into Medicare, by law, your supplemental with a pre-existing condition
cannot be used against you. They can't use actuarial tables against you.
Well,
But
this was before the Obamacare was passed,
right.
and so
Right.
I actually didn't have 6-month window. I had a 3-month window
Oh, wow.
because I turned 65 in November. In fact, my birthday is coming up next week, and so then this was 3 months after I enrolled that I had to get in.
Wow.
So I didn't even have a 6-month window. I had a 3-month window. That law has changed. Now it's longer, but
now it's longer, but still,
as I understand it,
that is still problematic in that, again, if you're not in that window at 65, guys, at 65, if you're out of that window and after you find out that you have an illness and you try to go back to traditional Medicare, your 80% will be covered and you'll be able to get that. But God help you finding a supplemental that will take care of your bills. You probably couldn't afford it. Go ahead.
Well, interestingly enough, the AARP plan did accept me, even knowing that I'd been diagnosed.
You were still in the window.
I was still in the window, so I could make the change.
That's the law.
So under the law, they had to accept me.
Under the law, they had to accept you.
Yes, and this is before the Affordable Care Act, so
right.
Which eliminated the insurance self-serving protections on no pre-existing conditions.
The pre-existing condition doesn't apply, however, to Medicare after the 6 months because you had your opportunity to choose Medicare or Medicare Advantage.
Exactly.
Those are all the things that they do to go around it. But look, so in effect, by the way, how are you doing right now?
Well, the cancer's back, but I got a little something that's about. I got, and it's migrated into my lungs. So I got one tumor that's about a half an inch. I got another tumor that's about a quarter of an inch. But these had grown up until I started the new medication about an inch each. Plus, I had a mass growing in the hilar lymph nodes in between my lungs. And so now the interesting thing is that so this is another thing that I need to give as advice for people. When you seek out a doctor, make sure you have a doctor that is really staying on top of the literature. Most doctors today now are employed rather than being independent, and they have a really high patient load. So as a consequence of that, they very seldom have time to really stay on top of this. So I had been blessed because I'd been in New York last June. I'm a big fan of Thomas Paine. My book is inspired by him, and so I was in New York for basically Thomas Paine's. There's a big Thomas Paine Day in New Rochelle where the National Historical Association is based, and so I went there for that. And while I was there, at the suggestion of my ex-wife, says, "Well, listen, you're going to be in New York. Go to Sloan Kettering." And so I made an appointment. They accepted me, which was because here's just this nebbish from Colorado, and they said, "Sure, yeah, we'll take you." And so I saw one of the top oncologists in the world. Just luck of the draw. Or just, for whatever reason. And then this guy determined that I was on the wrong medication and referred me to an oncologist in Denver who now I'm seeing, who is at the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center. And, rather than one of these private clinics, this is a, state funded, it's not Medicare for all, but it's, state funded. And I'm really grateful. This woman is just incredible. She's so on top of the medication. So when I had a health crisis in September, because there was an overlap between the immunotherapy fading out and the new drug kicking in, my body got overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so this one was able to figure out what's happened. And then, so now I took 3 weeks off while my body recovered. I dropped down to close to 100 pounds.
Wow.
I was a skinny mini me.
Yeah.
And so now, since then, I've started regaining weight, and we also found out the cancer had shrunk, so the new medication is working. And but just I'm in very good, excellent care, which wasn't the case before because this guy, he meant well, but he was overwhelmed, by his patient load, and he didn't have time to do his homework.
Okay, let me stop you right there because I need the audience to understand this. I am a proponent for having real health care, which means universal health care. You can call it Medicare for all if you want. You can call it healthcare for all. But Judah's experience just was the answer to your question. A doctor in the public domain, a doctor in the commons, a doctor that is...
It's a privately run college, but it's fine. State college. But
it's a state college that receives a whole lot of grants and all these items. They don't have to be overwhelmed by patients.
And they're a research center as well.
And they're a research center. You realize what we talk about, medicine for profit versus medicine to heal.
there is a difference when you have medicine for profit versus medicine to heal. His life wasn't only saved because he went from Medicare Advantage to traditional Medicare, but it was also saved because he went to an institution where profit wasn't the sole motive for giving care. It's important for us to understand this. Go ahead.
My nutshell view of that is that I don't think, I'm a big advocate of human rights and civil rights and what Paine called natural law. And, the people in the Enlightenment, the 18th century. But my belief is that my body should not be somebody else's profit center.
Exactly. That's, you know what? I tell you what, I think that's a way to end this conversation. You nailed it. If we take what you've just said, my body is not somebody else's profit center. That answers our healthcare problem. That presents us with our healthcare solution. We should have universal healthcare covered by our society, which we all participate in. Thank you, Judah. So
before we go, I want to add one thing that might help readers, your listeners. You had a guest on your show some time ago, Jerry Ashton, who was the author of a book or one of the three authors of a book called End Medical Debt, which I edited and published. And if people get that book, they can understand. There's detailed in there because it was written by a healthcare administrator and two medical debt collectors who, by the way, started a charity now called Undo Medical Debt, which has forgiven somewhere upwards of $13 billion in medical debt. But this book goes through why the medical situation, how we evolved into a for-profit healthcare industry. We no longer give a chicken to the doctor to pay for our doctor visitor, let alone house calls. But if people want to really understand why the insurance industry is the way it is, how we have consolidated healthcare in this country, I really do recommend this book. And by the way, people ought to know that for every copy that sells, forgives about $500 in medical debt because I donate the money donate 85% of the money to the charity.
Judah Freed, thank you very much for your work as an activist in healthcare and otherwise. And I think your story will enlighten quite a few, and it'll continue to put us on the path where we actually get a humane healthcare system. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
And I hope folks really understand what we just heard, the corruption that is our healthcare system. But anyway, folks, look, we are at 52. I don't have enough time for the last video of the day, but let me see if I can answer some questions. There's something that Mike Cisak says that I want to refute, and it's important because what folks on the right do all the times is they will just make an assertion and they keep making the same assertion until people start to believe that it has some modicum of truth. So here is what Mike replied to Maywood. He said, Maywood, Keynesian theory is based on government sending money out into the economy on work projects. The theory is based on money trickling down to all the workers to then spend on the rest of the economy. It's by definition trickle down. That is completely false. But let me take on Peggy and then I'll continue with the discussion. Peggy Lopez, how you doing, my beautiful friend?
I'm good. Let me shut you off on my computer here.
No problem, sister.
I'm leaving for Mexico in the morning, so I called to say goodbye for a while.
Oh, so you are really going to go to Mexico? Well, you're going to come back a happy woman, okay?
Well, I hope so, because it's looking better every day, every single day. And I watch the patriarch. Even some of the mainstream news outlets are starting to talk about the 1950s when it was male dominated. Like that's not ever gone away.
Right.
It's interesting for me to hear them, at least at this late time, coming around. They can't see it because they can't see it in themselves. They can't see their structure. But just to hear them say that means that somewhere it's reaching through. But
you know what's so funny, Peggy, before you continue, I just want to say this. And you're a woman, so you tell me if I am understanding women correctly. But all the women that I've speak to thus far, they see this as so offensive, and I'm talking about Republican and Democratic women as well. They see what's going on, what
Right.
Trump is trying to do, as extremely offensive, and they are
Right.
pissed, and they're just doing it the way
And
women always do things, and that is quietly. Tell me if I'm wrong or right.
well, you're both.
Okay.
You're both wrong and right. You're
Okay,
right
explain.
because they haven't totally. The women that I meet, so many women that have moved into battling the structure of the tenets of the patriarchy, racism, sexism, homophobia, all of that stuff. But they've never really looked at it as a total picture and seen how they were groomed into the patriarchy, because those are all pieces of the patriarchy. And what's happened is that they've broken away from some of the structure of the patriarchy, but they're still bound by the big tent of the patriarchy. And so it makes them be offended instead of seeing it for what it is, an absurdity. I can't be offended by something that is so absurd in my mind, and also delights me in my mind, because I see how they're flailing about to get back the power that they've let slip through their fingers while they've been out collecting all the money. Now, all the money is all they've been able to see, and they've let go of the power that they really wielded over people by letting women go to college and giving women the vote and all of that silly stuff that just gets the women out of their way so they can make money. And now they're seeing that they really have lost their power, because we, on the outside of the fort that Sonia Johnson talks about, have come together and coalesced into a human bonded group, a group of equals of human beings.
Amen.
And
Amen,
they
sister.
can't fight that.
Well,
They
look,
cannot fight that.
Peggy, I need to finish up with a few questions here, and I want to say, first of all, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I just called to say goodbye. I mean, I just
No,
want to let you know I'm leaving, but I'm coming back. No
okay,
matter what, I'm coming back.
well, I mark my word, you're coming back. You're going to come back to the United States very happy. And when you come back, give me a call, whether directly on the show or give me a call on my line, okay?
Okay, I will.
Thank you, beautiful. Bye-bye. All right, let me finish with CSAC here, because it's important. I'm not going to let that stay into the ethos here. I need to because he made two very false statements, right? He says, let's see. I need to look up Keynes. When you have all this stuff happening. He said Keynesian economic policies have never worked because it's based on trickle-down economics. That's false. That is completely false. Trickle-down economics mean giving money to the wealthy and it'll trickle down. Keynesian economics says throw money into the hands of the people that normally trickle down would have trickled down to, and watch it grow. And that's what Biden did, and it worked. That's what and that's not up for debate. Now, here is what he said that made no sense. He said, uh, Keynesian economics is based on government sending money into the projects. No, that's not the one I want to read, because he says, and once the projects are, okay, he said, the problem with Keynesian theory is that the work projects don't add lasting value to the economy, loading debt onto the public, and once the projects are done, economic activity returns to even more depressed state. That is patently false. First of all, we're living through what Keynesian rebuilt, and the economy isn't going down now that we've stopped our Keynesian inputs. We've stopped the Keynesian inputs and the economy continues to grow. So that statement is provably false. But secondly, Keynesian economics was used to build Hoover Dam. Now, it was used to build roads and bridges, etc. Guess what? Those are investments, and those bridges are still standing today. They're investments. They're not temporary. They are investments that still stand today. When you invest in somebody's healthcare, you're making them healthy, which means that you're investing in keeping them healthy so that you don't spend more money in them being sick later on. Think, and think. That is a statement of fact, and the way the right wing and Prager University explains it, it's explained for the feeble-minded. Think things through. Think things through. It's important. Now, another topic, when Eric Hayes says, Egberto, calling people garbage is not good. Have you listened to what Donald Trump has said about people who decide to vote Democratic? Have you listened to him using the word garbage? Have you listened to him use the word that we are a garbage country? Come on, you guys, try to be consistent at least. It shows, it takes away your credibility when you say things this way. But then again, the right has never had credibility. All right, Paul Fleming says, Tim Walz, this dude is nearly 80 years old. He damn near killed himself getting into a garbage truck. I know. He stumbled. If it were Biden who stumbled, oh, it would be all over the TV. But we don't hear it there. But anyway, it's time for me to get out of here. Folks, it's time for me to leave. Please support the program. How can you do that? You can support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please support us by being a paid subscriber of our newsletter. That's the only one I have the time to give right now. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Anyway, folks, love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.